I'd like to welcome everyone here to our annual meeting of Northwest REC. Similar to what we did last year, we're offering a hybrid option for our annual meeting this year. Members have the opportunity to either attend in person or participate by viewing our meeting online. We are pleased there are a good turnout of members at our attendance this evening. We also have a number joining us through our Facebook Live broadcast. We'd like to welcome all of you. We are also recording this meeting and it will be put on our website to give all our members the opportunity to view it at their discretion. If you are joining us virtually this evening on our Facebook Live, we would like to invite you to text this number to get registered for our door prizes. 833-692-0554. Please text NWREC 2022 and you should receive a text asking you to text your name. At this time, I'd like to call the annual meeting of Northwest REC Cooperative to order and invite Dale Ulrich, the director from District 4, and our Assistant Secretary Treasurer of the Board to come forward to give the invocation and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Dale?
Please bow. Almighty God, as we gather tonight for the annual meeting of the Northwest REC, may you shower your blessings upon each of us and prepare our hearts for the things that will be discussed. Lord, help us to be a blessing in the way we speak and act. Let everything we discuss here be in alignment with your word, and may we speak with humility when updating our member owners on the activity of their REC for the last year. You know each one of us better than we know ourselves. May your glory and peace fill this meeting. Open up our hearts and minds that we may know the hope to which you have called us. Give us boldness to speak what you have placed in our hearts and help us to follow your will. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Dale. At this time, I'll ask Steve Brown, our board secretary, to come forward and present the notice of the meeting and the quorum declaration. Steve?
Evening. We have an affidavit of notice of the annual meeting. Mr. Chairman, I certify that a notice of the annual meeting to be held on March 31st, 2022 was mailed to each member of the cooperative at his or her address as it appears in the records of the cooperative on March 1st, 2022. I further certify that a quorum has been established with over 10% of the members returning a mail ballot, and that corporate business in the name of Northwest REC can now be transacted. Mr. Chairman, I move the adoption of this report and request that it be filed with the records of this annual meeting.
It's been moved. Is there support for that motion? Support. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
And then we need to approve, as we're carrying on the business then, we need to approve the annual meeting minutes from last year. The minutes of the annual meeting held on March 31st, 2021 were included in the annual meeting mailing that was mailed to all members. Mr. Chairman, I move that we dispense with the reading of the minutes and approve their adoption.
Is there support for that motion? Support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you, Steve. We have a director election this year in each of our 4 districts. We've had some excellent candidates, and I would like to introduce the candidates by district, and please ask you to stand if you're present. In District 1, Tim Russ, and myself, Jeff Rader. Okay. District 2, Jeremy Rohr and Tom Wagner. District 3, Tom Popkin and Steve Brown. District 4, John Burke and Dan Hoffman. Thank all of you for your willingness to be on the ballot and your support of the cooperative. At this time, I'd like to declare the director election voting is closed. This time I'll have Lyle come forward to introduce some other directors and other staff.
Thanks, Jeff. We do have a number of our directors here this evening, and you can see the picture that's up on the board there. We have Steve Brown, who you previously met, and Jeff Rader. Dave Bosma is here this evening from District 1. Steve Abma is also from District 1. From District 2, we have Scott Firehelm, Doug Becker, Shirley Schrader, and Steve Brown. In District 2, it's Tom Wagner. He's here this evening, also represents us on the NIPCO board, and Chad Dow. And then in District 4, here this evening down in Ida County, Dale Ulrich, who you previously met, and Dan Hoffman. So we have a great group of directors, very dedicated. If you could please give them a round of applause, I'd appreciate it. We also have a number of staff with us tonight, not all of them, but they do a great job of getting the meeting pulled together and making my job and Jeff's job easy. So we appreciate that, whether it's 70 degrees outside or 20 below zero, the crews have to go out and work in those conditions. The office staff doesn't have to work in those conditions, but they get pretty stressful inside when that kind of stuff is going on. They pull together and do a fantastic job for you. Please recognize our employees for the work they do. We do have a former director with us here tonight, Verdine Otto. Verdine from District 4, thanks for being here. And I think he's the only former director. And then we have a visitor here from Iowa Lakes Electric Cooperative, a director there, and he's also on the Iowa Association of Electric Cooperatives, represents our district in Des Moines, Neil Helt, and we thank you for being here, Neil. Matt Washburn will be on the panel. He's the Executive Vice President, General Manager of our power supplier, NIPCO, so you'll get a chance to meet him later, but thanks for driving down, Matt. We're going to now call on Renee Winia, our Executive Assistant, to come up and announce our $1,000 scholarship winners and talk a little bit about our program. Renee?
Okay, Northwest REC has a scholarship program, and in order to be eligible for that, they have to be students who are dependents of Northwest REC members. They must be a senior in high school for the 2021-2022 school year, and they must plan to enroll in a college, university, or a vocational or technical school. We continue to have great participation, and this year we received 75 applications, and we are only able to choose two $1,000 winners from each district. And so we had a tough decision, or the scholarship committee had a tough decision to pick just two winners from each district, but the winners are, from District 1 was Megan Yuffer and Kata Vandenberg. District 2 was Brenton Thomas and Brady Van Metren. And Brenton actually is here tonight, so we'll just give a big wave. He made the trip here, he's one of the winners. From District 3, Molly McCarthy and Jaden Olmstead. And District 4 was Aiden Bauer and Emma Bowes, I'm not sure if I pronounced that right. The remaining scholarship applicants, those that did not get the $1,000, could either receive a $500 or $250 scholarship. When all the scholarships were awarded, we gave close to $30,000 in scholarships to all the students. So we are excited about the interest in our scholarship program, and we want to thank all the students who took time to complete the application form this year.
Thank you, Renee, and congratulations again to all our scholarship winners. At this time, the nominating committee met in January, and Jim Holst was selected as the chairman. Jim, would you please come forward and present the nominating committee report?
Will do. Thanks, Jeff. Well, the Committee on Nominations, consisting of 11 members, being the Committee on Nominations of the Northwest Rural Electric Cooperative, appointed by the Board of Directors of the said cooperative, duly assembled and met on January 18th of 2022 with the following named present: Joel Brown, Brian Fritz, Fred Galswick, Dave Howard, myself, Jim Holst, Kyle Perman, Randy Rediger, Adam Schmidt, Patricia Schultz, Ken Van Donsler, and Art Witten. I was chosen as chairman of the committee, and Adam Schmidt was chosen as secretary, and the committee thereupon was declared open for business and duly organized. And it was moved and seconded unanimously and carried that the following be placed in nomination for the election of the board to the board of directors of the cooperative to be voted on and elected at the annual meeting of the cooperative to be held on March 31st, 2022. Excuse me. District 1, Jeff Rader, Tim Roos. District 2, Jeremy Rohr and Tom Wagner. District 3, Steve Brown and Todd Popkin. And District 4, John Burke and Dan Hoffman. It was moved and seconded unanimously carried that the committee adjourn. Jim Holst, chairman, and Adam Schmidt, secretary.
Thank you, Jim, and all the nominating committees for your work and dedication. This time, I'd like to have Tom Wagner come forward to present the treasurer's report.
Good evening. Like Jeff said, I'm Tom Wagner. I live up by Primgar, farm up by Primgar with my brother. I'm also board chair, treasurer, and I'll give you a quick little treasurer's report here. The financials report that of the co-op was on the back of the flyer you have there, and it was also sent out in the annual report that you received in the mail. Total revenue for 2021 was $51 million. That was down $1 million from 2020, but still very healthy. The primary reason it was down, we had received a bill credit in September from our power supplier NIPCO, and we passed that on as in our PCA. We basically zeroed out our PCA, and that's how we got that bill credit back to members. We also, what was that other slide? Okay, we also had another $2.5 million or $1.2 million bill credit that we received from NIPCO that we will pass on as a credit. You've probably already seen that on your bill. It's a credit PCA. So basically you'll have your bill figured up, and at the end you'll have a credit. And that's how we'll get those bill credits back to members. Operating expenses were just short of $49 million, and you can see the lion's share of that is our purchased power. That's about $38 million. That's 78% of the total, which we don't have a lot of control over that power supply, but we have a lot of control of everything below that. And that's where we are, as management and board and employees, we think Northwest Iowa co-op does a Northwest REC does a real good job of controlling those costs, minimizing those as much as we can. Total margins for 2021 were $4.8 million. Of that, $2.4 million was from patronage from NIPCO and our primary lender, CFC. You can see here, this goes back to 20 years, or back 24 years to the beginning of Northwest REC. You can see our margin level, how that really started growing in the late 2000 aughts there, and our margin really grew strong through those years. You can see our total revenue, our margins at the bottom didn't grow as fast, but we have grown our margin. We're able to basically take a smaller percentage of that overall growth to basically keep the co-op growing. The co-op has, I should have worn my glasses. I'm trying to look at this screen down here and I can barely see it. Co-op has $122 million of assets. That grew by $7.7 million in 2021. We have member equity of $59 million, which is basically our deferred patronage. We have a $9 million margin stabilization fund. We've had that margin stabilization fund for years. It's really helped the co-op. We're able to put funds in that, and as we went through a period where rates went up, we were able to do a slower rate increase because we had that stabilization fund. Last year, we retired $2 million in patronage, which was our biggest patronage the co-op has ever done. That was from 2008 patronage and a portion of 2009. In total, since the beginning of all four county co-ops that began for 82 years, that's $29 million returned to members. We had, so in total dollars returned to the members this year, we have the $2 million patronage, and we have $3 million returned in our PCA. So for $5 million, returned to the members. You pay your bill, we collect that from you, but we're able to return margin and return patronage. I'm pleased to, if you've heard what I'm saying here, we're in very good shape. The numbers are positive. They're in where we meet all our financial obligations, and I'm glad to say that your co-op is run well, managed well, and is in good financial shape. With that, Jeff, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Tom. Is there a motion to approve the financials as presented? Bernine, second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thanks again. At this time, I think we're going to move on to our highlight video. Ask Tom and Matt to come forward. We're going to do a question and answer panel discussion like we did last year, and Manager Lyle will facilitate the discussion. And we've had a lot of questions from our membership, and we hope to address them as best we can.
As you can see from the video, there was a lot of things that happened last year, a lot of member involvement, a lot with our youth. And Emily Vandervelde put that together for us, our communicator. I think she did a great job. Could you please show your appreciation for that? So we're doing this Q&A panel again like what we did last year. What I didn't tell the guys is, you know, we used to do entertainment. A lot of times we had music. And so this is unrehearsed, but we're going to have to we're going to do a little quartet thing here. Okay. Matt, you're going to be bass, okay? Just kidding. We'll spare you. There would be a mad exodus for the door, so we're not going to go there. But anyway, I do appreciate Matt Washburn from NIPCO, Tom Wagner, one of our directors, Jeff, and joining us on this panel. This first question that I'm going to have, and we're going to go back and forth, and I'm going to give Jeff a pretty easy softball question here to start out. But these questions came from our members, the green cards that were sent in. We can't answer all of them, wish we could. Those that we can't, I'll try to answer some of those in the newsletter. But Jeff, first question. How many years has Northwest REC been in business?
Individual four counties were started in 1938, which makes them 84 years old. And Northwest REC, the merger of the four counties, started 24 years ago in 1998.
We had a number ask about how many employees we have, and it's fewer than what we had when we did the consolidation 24 years ago. Could you comment on how many employees and why it's lower than it was 25 years ago?
In 1998, there was actually 50 employees between the four counties. Right now, we're currently at 41. We're in the process of hiring 3 new linemen. Will get us back to 44. Result of merging the technologies. You know, as many of you remember, we're no longer writing out our own, reading our own meters, so we don't have to do all that mailing and back and forth, so the staff time's cut down. The technology where a lot of the stuff just flows through a software has really enabled our cooperative to be very efficient. Then our line crews, with 4 different line crews, be able to facilitate the area. So we can get a lot more done with less people, and it's working really well.
Thanks, Jeff. Tom and Matt, as we just saw from the expenses that Tom was sharing, 78% or 70 cents out of every dollar that we spend goes to NIPCO for purchase power expenses, and NIPCO buys the power for us from WAPA and Basin. So that's a big number. But both Basin and NIPCO had good years last year. They passed along some nice bill credits. You saw where we're passing that along to our members. Could you both briefly explain, Tom on the Basin side and Matt on the NIPCO side, how it was possible to do those bill credits this last year?
All right. There it is. At Basin, I represent the NIPCO board at Basin Electric in North Dakota, Bismarck, North Dakota. Just like here at Northwest REC or any other business, there's certain financial matrices and equity rates and margin levels that we need to maintain to, you know, to be financially secure. It helps us borrow money effectively, but those margins come from member rate. So once those rates or those levels are hit and maintained, that allows the board of directors to have some options on the extra margin above that number. And in December of 2021, the Basin board had the ability to send a $30 million bill credit back to members. And a portion of that came to NIPCO as a member. Another neat thing about being a cooperative, Northwest REC through NIPCO up to Basin is NIPCO, or Basin Electric, has a lot of renewable energy, and all the co-ops have so many renewable energy credits, or RECs. Basically, Basin Electric aggregates those for the members and sends them back to the members, and they sent back $685,000 to NIPCO. So both of that, between the bill credit and that renewable energy credits, those flowed back from Basin Electric to NIPCO. And I'll let Matt kind of tell you what the numbers, how we generated bill credits at NIPCO.
When it comes to NIPCO then, I tried my mightest to keep it at NIPCO, but that doesn't happen. It all goes, I'm joking, it all goes to the distribution cooperatives. On top of that then at NIPCO, we finished up a long process. If you remember last year, I told you we entered a regional transmission organization called, it's a large national transmission grid. Basin is in it, WAPA is in it, NIPCO is in it. It's called Southwest Power Pool. And to go into Southwest Power Pool, we had to go through a federal approval process. And it took over 5 years to get this approval process done. During that 5 years, we were getting reimbursed. Our members were getting reimbursed for the cost to run the NIPCO grid on the national grid. We did not forward all of them back, all of those reimbursements back to the membership. We actually held on to 15% of them at NIPCO in case our approval did not go through or we had to do a refund for what we had collected through our reimbursement. Well, we got it finished up. We had to settle with one intervener. And when it was all said and done, we had almost $4 million of deferred revenues on the NIPCO books that were from the reimbursements that we had collected from SPP, but had not forwarded to the membership. So the NIPCO board said, we kept those for one reason, and that was for a potential refund. That risk was gone, and that went back to the membership as well. But then there was another $3 million that we sent back, and that was just due to, frankly, we over budgeted at NIPCO. It took us a little longer to come out of the COVID recession, if you want to call it. We all know 2020 sales went down as the country stopped. In 2021, it stopped and started multiple times. We all know this, right? And our economy did that as well. So we didn't have quite as many sales. And this sounds counterintuitive. When we don't have as much sales at NIPCO, that's actually a financial benefit because that means that we're sending less money up to Bismarck, North Dakota, and it stays here in Northwest Iowa. And so we had $3 million of basically operating, a positive variance to our operating margins at NIPCO through, we had a little bit less depreciation. It was all over the board, a little bit less interest. Our operations and maintenance was less, and our purchase power was less because we're, as a NIPCO family, through our load management system, we're buying and using our electricity even more efficiently than we have. And so that when we buy it efficiently, we pass that credit on to the membership. So all said and done, I think it was a total in 2021 of $11 million got sent back from NIPCO to the NIPCO member distribution cooperatives, of which Northwest is one.
Thank you. Those were nice surprises, and we were able to pass those along, or are passing those along through our credit PCA by increasing our patronage retirement. Tom shared some of that in his treasurer's report, so I won't elaborate more. But Jeff, we had a lot of questions about future rates. So rates have been stable, but we had a lot of questions about future rates. Will Northwest REC be able to keep our rates stable for a few more years?
Yeah, we're going on 7 years since our last rate increase. This year, as Tom mentioned, we actually are giving away a $3.3 million through our PCA. So actually your rates are going down about 5% this year, which is pretty outstanding since everything else is getting inflated. Looking forward, we think we can hold the rates for at least another 2 or 3 years. It depends on the economy and everything else and how it works at Basin, but we're hoping to have pretty stable rates for the next 2 or 3 years and maintain one of the 5% lowest rates in the country.
Thank you, Jeff. Obviously, we all know that when you turn on the nightly news or watch during the day, read the papers, there's just a lot of talk about Ukraine and a lot of concern about energy prices and that type of thing. We had a lot of questions about what will the war in Ukraine that Russia is bringing do to affect us. And so, Matt, I guess I need to step back here a minute and first talk about the cybersecurity. I'm going to talk about cybersecurity first. We'll come back to the impact on rates. So what is our concern about cybersecurity relating to this war that could impact the electrical grid?
Yep, it is related to the Ukraine-Russian conflict right now. We have an IT department at NIPCO that is watching this on a daily basis. We actually get reports from the federal government on things to look out for. Those come through Department of Homeland Security. And then some things that we're doing at NIPCO, again, because the number one thing that we want to make sure does not happen is that we lose functional control of our grid, or that somebody is able to come in the back door and do some physical damage to a substation. Specifically, transformers are very hard to get right now. And just like anything, lead time on everything is double. So if we had, someone got in and did some damage to our system, we'd be able to cope with it, but we'd be on the horn trying to find, that's gonna be the biggest issue, is finding replacements. So at NIPCO, we have taken, Steve Spieler is our Chief Information Officer. I know Steve works closely with the member distribution cooperatives that we try to be a resource. I know he's on the horn with James a lot. I saw James here helping anytime that James needs help. He knows that he can use NIPCO as a resource.
James is in the back room making sure that we don't get hacked tonight, so.
Perfect. Keep it up, James. Yeah, no, I always stop in Steve's office and say, just to check in on him and say, what's the news today? But Steve and Kyan were the mighty two-man team there, and they have taken, Steve came to NIPCO about 4 or 5 years ago, and he has taken a lot of precautions, even before the Ukraine conflict, where he has really segmented our computer network at NIPCO. Almost everything touches the internet now, and he has gone through and done a full inventory of all of our devices, because we do have a smart grid. You hear that term a lot, smart grid. Well, to be smart grid, you have to have remote capability and access to the internet. And so we've had to go back and take a look at all the inventory and where does the internet touch us and what damage could it possibly do. If there's no need for it, we segment that. And so if somebody were to get in, which again, hope is not a strategy, and I always knock on wood when I say that, if they were to get in, it'd be very segmented and it would not be widespread. So, unfortunately, it's not a matter of if, it's when, and who's going to get it first, because there is a full-on attack right now from some bad people, enemies of the state, that are trying to kind of look over here. Something bad's going over here, so they're trying to make something else happen over here. We're doing our very best to stay in front of it, but it's one of those things that we just have to be very vigilant as not only NIPCO, Northwest REC, Basin, WAPA, everybody is on this, and it is become a daily responsibility of the utilities.
Thanks, Matt. And we do appreciate all the help we get from your IT folks there at NIPCO. We had a lot of questions about electric vehicles as you might expect. And before I get into it too much, I do want to state that we support an all of the above strategy with our electric vehicles, just like we support all of the above on our electric generation. We think when it comes to transportation, we need all of the above also. So to think that we can go from all gas-powered vehicles to all electric-powered vehicles in a short period of time, that just isn't feasible. And we're going to need gas, ethanol for many years to come. So we support both. But on the other hand, since we're in the electric business, we feel it's prudent on our part to get educated about electric vehicles and to share that information with our members. And so we've been doing that. We purchased an electric vehicle. We've been learning from that, just like we do with our solar array. But we did have several questions, and one of those was relating to charging. And members wanted to know, how long does it take to charge an electric vehicle? And well, the one that we own, which is a Chevy Bolt, just a mid-sized vehicle, if you were to plug that into your garage on a 120, it's going to take you many hours. Could be 18 hours maybe to charge that. If you wire your charger up to a 240, it's going to shorten that up, and it's maybe more like 8 to 10 hours, which is fine. You can plug that in at 9 o'clock at night, and by 6 o'clock the next morning, it's going to be fully charged. I think what a lot of people will do is, they'll plug it in every night, and maybe it's only down a quarter, and it won't take very long to get it back up to full. They won't let it go all the way down. Out on the interstates and the 4-lane highways, you're starting to see level 3 chargers. So the 120 is a level 1. A 240 is a level 2 charger, and what you see out on the interstates is going to be a level 3, a 480 volt. They call them rapid charge. Now, they're not all the same. It depends if that's a 50 kW or a 180 kW system. It's going to charge faster, obviously, if it's the 180 kW system. And they're talking about hoping to get that down to 20 to 30 minutes. The 50 kW, the smaller rapid charge, is probably still more like an hour. So again, I don't think a lot of people will let it get down all the way. Maybe if it's half, they'll pull in, get something to eat, go to the restroom, and maybe it only takes, 10, 15, 20 minutes to get it back up. But level 1, level 2, and level 3. Another question was, does Northwest REC have many, and then how far does that go? Well, with our Chevy Bolt, if we get it fully charged in the summer, about 230 miles, and you can drive from Orange City to Ida Grove and back, no worries. If it's 20 below zero, instead of 230, you can figure on about 170 or 180. And then the gals get a little bit nervous about heading down the road to Ida Grove and trying to get back. So it makes a difference. If it's nice weather, you're gonna get more miles. In the cold weather, I can tell you a long story about that. It won't go as far. Does Northwest REC have plans to offer incentives or rebates on EVs? Yes, in fact, just at our last board meeting, the board approved a $1,000 rebate for members that purchase an electric vehicle and want to hook up a 240 volt charger in their garage. That will probably defray most of that. You can buy a level 2 charger for $500 to $700. You'll have to get your electrician involved. You may have to upgrade your panel. So, $1,000 will go quite a ways towards getting that installed. And then we'll also cover the cost of the contactor hooking up to our load management system, because we want these off-peak. In order to get that rebate, you have to agree to be on our load management system. Why do we want it off-peak? Well, our Chevy Bolt is a 7 kW capacity but the larger, the SUVs and pickups are going to be 10, 15, 20 kW. Let's just use an example of a 10 kW vehicle that's charging in your garage. If that charges on our peak, we pay $15 per kW to NIPCO for our peak. So 10 times 15, that's $150 we just got hit on a demand charge if that was on peak, versus if it stays off our peak, we don't pay that demand charge and we only pay the energy charge. So we need to keep it off peak. So we'll offer the rebate if you participate in the program. Our rate will be a $5 facility charge. We'll do a separate sub-meter, and 6.9 cents per kilowatt hour. Give you a little discount for having that off-peak. The nice thing about not having to do time of use, where every day you can't charge from, maybe like 8 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock at night, 25 days out of the month, you can charge 24/7, because those aren't peak days. It's that coldest day, that hottest day, that we have to keep you off peak, and they'll control that. And we'll pass along that rate at 6.9 cents. So what does 6.9 cents get you? Well, if you want to charge that Chevy Bolt, it'd take about 70 kilowatt hours. 70 kilowatt hours times 7 cents, we're at 6.9, $4.90, $5, less than $6. You can charge that vehicle. Now, pickup's going to take you more, but pretty reasonable if you can keep that off peak, and that turns into a win-win. Out on the highway, out on the interstates, where you're going to do the level 3 charging, I think the lowest you're probably going to see is maybe 15 cents. I'm hearing a lot of 25 to 35 cents. So much higher than if you charge at home. A lot of the charging is going to happen at home. You take your pickup, you run to town, you charge it up at home. A lot of the charging is going to happen at home, but you're going to want to be able to go to Des Moines or somewhere else. It's going to cost you more on the highway, but pretty reasonable at home. So that's just a little bit about EVs. Now, Matt, as a follow-up, there was a great question about our power grid. So we're facing threats of blackouts, and I think you're going to talk about last February. And now we're going to add these EVs. What if we got to where it's 30% of the vehicles on the road are EVs? Is our grid capable of handling that?
Short answer is yes, but it's going to have to be controlled growth. Related to that, because when Lyle told me about this question, I imagine it was related to what we went through 2 Februarys ago, where we had to turn on the control electric heat for the first time in a month not named May in the history of NIPCO. That was in February. And again, I want to give a real quick update on where we're at with that, because I told you last year in Orange Sioux Center, I told you last year in Sioux Center they were going through a comprehensive review at Southwest Power Pool, and they did that, and there's a report that's out. I'm not going to go through it's 200 pages. Here's the crib notes. They found out that there's a supply issue on the natural gas side. Shocking. You know, because in Texas, when it froze up, the natural gas stopped flowing, their power plant shut down, and frankly, it was just real simple economics. The load was very high, and the footprint there, you can see the footprint of Southwest Power Pool is the red with the hash marks there. The blue was the cold, that was the sub-zero. Again, it wasn't real cold for us here, we all know that day. I mean, it gets down to 15 below. But down in Texas, they don't have anything insulated, they're not winterized. And so fuel supply was the number one thing that came out of this comprehensive review. Texas and Oklahoma are supposed to be going through they have action plans that they're going through. That's the number one thing that came out of this comprehensive review. Now, locally, what we have done in the last 12 months since I last talked to you, we have met with the NIPCO managers, and we have gone over several times, if this happens again, if we get a call that we have to curtail electricity, we have gone through, NIPCO and the 7-member managers, we have gone through and said, okay, what is the way that we could shed electricity with the least amount of effect on the end users, the member owners? And so I think we have a real good plan. We have a winter plan, a summer plan. I know I've already said this once, hope is not a strategy. I hope we don't have to use it. But if we do, I think we've got a good plan that the membership will see very little effect from this. So there has been some progress on this. Now, as far as the grid, when it comes to EVs, I think what we need to do as a membership is that there's two paths that we can go here. We've all heard this on TV. You hear this narrative of we're gonna be 100% renewable, right? You've heard it from companies. You've heard it from we're gonna be carbon free by 2035. That's really easy to say. It's impossible to do. And I know that's not PC to say right now with the way everybody's anti-carbon. How are we gonna replace all of our existing coal-fired natural gas facilities in short order so that we have zero carbon? And so like Lyle had already referenced earlier today we are all in favor of all the above for both EVs and gas vehicles. We have been promoting, NIPCO and Northwest REC and Basin, we have been promoting for a decade or more all of the above generation resources. What does that mean? That means that we're not picking the renewables and saying we're going 100% renewable, because is that part of our future? Absolutely it is. That sounds like I'm anti-renewable. Absolutely not. That's part of our future. But renewables are intermittent, and we all know around here, the hottest day, the coldest day, they have a common denominator. What is that? The wind doesn't blow. So we're not going to get the energy from the wind. You have to have that coal and natural gas base load generation to support the power supply. The grid, making sure that the grid's there. I can tell you that in our neck of the woods, NIPCO, we're in year 7 and 8 of upgrading our renewal replacement of our 69 kV system. We're about halfway through it, and it's been a tremendous, we have seen very little effects to our rates because of our involvement in Southwest Power Pool. So we are ready to go for additional load related to it, but it's gonna be one of those things that as we go forward, I think on the distribution system too, Lyle just spoke of it. If you get a couple of these new Ford Lightnings on one circuit, there's potential that there's gonna have to be an upgrade there. So it's gonna be something that as this continues to grow, as the EVs continue to grow, obviously we'll keep a track with it. Load flow studies on the transmission system, we work closely with the distribution members, and it's gonna be something we'll just have to, we'll take it as it comes. But I think my take on this, again, just to reiterate, we as a group, we have to promote all of the above generation resources. We cannot buy into this 100% renewable by 2035. It's not feasible, because then we're gonna have reliability issues. And I think we as an organization, nobody wants to have reliability issues going forward. We all want the heat come on in the winter. We all want the air conditioning. We all want the lights to come on. And I think that as a group, that's something that we can all get behind, is let's focus on reliability and not 100% renewable.
Staying with power supply, Tom, this one's for you. Can you share what the current mix of the generation portfolio is that NIPCO is getting through WAPA and Basin?
I sure can, and Matt kind of said all the above, and you can see right here, that's exactly what we are. We're all the above. We're 31% coal, 23% hydro. Now I see Matt's glasses. Don't help a bit. Dang it. All right, thanks, Matt. Thanks for nothing. So we got hydro, we got natural gas, we got wind. So we have a really nice balance of generation available to us. You know, we've had hydro and coal. If you go back to 2020, or excuse me, the year 2000, go back 21 years, essentially we would have coal and hydro. Our hydro percentage would be a little higher, it'd be probably 25, 26%. And we'd have about that oil, we'd have a little bit of oil, a little bit of gas generation, and that'd be about that same, it'd be a little bit bigger than that, maybe 4%, and then the rest of that pie would be coal. So when people say you're not doing enough or you haven't done anything, I think we've done quite a lot. And if you pull that hydro piece out, that's basically what Basin Electric has done. You know, they diversified, they've built wind, they've built natural gas plants. Market power, Matt referenced the Southwest Power Pool. That's one RTO, our Regional Transmission Organization. Another one that Basin is involved with is MISO, Mid-Continent.
Independent source operators.
There we go. So those are RTOs, and those allow us to access market power. So that's been a big part of how we've served the load. So we have done a lot over the last 20 years to be diversified, to add renewables, and I think it's a credit to Basin Electric, NIPCO, and our members.
Thank you, Tom. We had a lot of questions about solar as well, and as you know, we did a 34 kW solar array at our Orange City location about 7 years ago. Verdine, you remember that well, right? And we wanted to learn, just like with the electric vehicle, we wanted to learn about solar and share that with our members. So what have we learned? Well, one thing we've learned is it's quite seasonal. You can see these are the months of the year. So the high generation months are April through September. We're now in a low season during the winter months where it's way lower than it is during the other months. Varies quite a bit seasonally. One of the other big things is I talked about our demand with NIPCO. And that red line on the far left is when we peaked at 7:30 in the morning in January, and there was no solar generation, zero that was contributing. So that particular member, whether, if they had solar on a Hawk building or some other building, they were needing to rely on our generation 100%. They couldn't generate until the sun started, it's still daylight and the sun started going, and then you can see what happens when the clouds come up, it drops off and that type of thing. But midday, 11 to 2 o'clock, it's pretty good. But then it drops off fairly quickly. In the summer, or late afternoon, we get some on our peak, but not a lot. So if it could generate on our peak 24/7, it'd be great, but it's intermittent, kind of like what wind is. Wind is about a 40% resource, because a lot of times it'll blow at night, and coal is 90-some%, wind is 40%. Solar is less than 20% in our area. So many nighttime hours, the clouds, and it's not helping on our peak. So when we get asked about, will you net meter? Yes, we will net meter and give the retail rate, but only up to 50 kW and only if sized to the load. Because any net metering where we give a member an 8-cent retail rate that they can offset, that 8.1 cent en bloc retail rate, we're not avoiding that much from NIPCO if they're off our peak. All we're avoiding is the energy rate, about 3 cents from NIPCO, but we're giving the member 8 cents credit. And so we're willing to do some subsidy to work with our members because we're not anti-solar. We want to work with them, but it needs to be within our program. So we'll do size to the load based on demand, only up to 50 kW. If they have a 15 kW load and they want to put in 30 kW of solar, they can do that. We'll interconnect with them, but we won't net meter because our other members are going to subsidize for those members that want to do solar. We're doing some of that by doing some net metering on a small scale. If we ramp that up and do it on a larger scale, all of our members who don't want to do solar are going to subsidize those that do. And we're not anti-solar. It sounds a little bit that way. We're not. We're just trying to make sure that it's good for the cooperative, good for all of our members, whether they want to do solar or not, and that type of thing. So that's why we have that program, and we're happy to answer any questions that you have. Rob Dreesen would love to take your phone call if you have anything on that. Jeff, reliability is a big deal, and we're trying to make sure, we provide the 99.99% reliability, but we know that a lot of our line is 60 plus years old. What is the board's plan? What have we been doing with improving our reliability?
In the last 5 years, we've really tried to tackle that, to get at least 80 miles replaced, trying to go with underground with a lot of it if it's feasible. We have our own plow, so if we're just doing single phase line, it's about cost effective going overhead versus underground. So if the timing permits, we'll try to do as much underground single phase. The 3-phase is a lot more expensive to go underground, so we have been doing a lot of the 3-phase overhead. The good news is we're putting the pole. This year, we're gonna probably do a little more overhead just because we have overhead transformers on hand. You can't install stuff you don't have. So we're just continuing to try to upgrade the system and make it as cost effective to the membership.
Thanks, Jeff. Tom, back to you quickly on generation. There were a few nuclear questions. And so is nuclear in the future for Basin Electric?
It's actually in the past. We had the only nuclear plant in Iowa that was actively in use was over in eastern Iowa. That shut down after the derecho in 2020 that came through central Iowa. It was scheduled to shut down in November of that year, but that derecho took a large chunk of transmission line out of that plant, so it shut down in August. The plant was very well maintained, very efficient plant, but nuclear energy has so much regulatory red tape around it, and security and all the things that go into it. It was just cost prohibitive to run that plant. Basin Electric got the power out of that when Corn Belt Power out of Humboldt, Iowa, joined Basin as a member in 2010, I believe it was, maybe 2008. They brought all their resources to Basin, and their percentage, I think 10% of that nuclear plant came, so that was in our portfolio. It no longer is, that since they've shut that plant down. Now moving forward, with current technology in nuclear, there probably will not be any nuclear plants built in the United States. There's one under construction in Georgia.
That's taking, it's already doubled in price, tripled in price. If you started today and say you could get it built, it'd probably take 12 years from
today making that decision to actually having an electron coming out of that plant. So it's a great clean fuel. I think it really has some value in Europe, especially like France. They've done a lot of it. There's some new technology potentially in the future that's a more small modular type nuclear. Is bringing nuclear back, but in a short term, no, there is no nuclear on the drawing boards in this area of the country or any place in the country.
Thank you, Tom. Matt, we printed an article in our newsletter recently about a battery storage project that NIPCO is doing, a pilot project, and we're hearing a lot more about batteries. Can you share just a little bit about that project?
Yeah, I think there's some pictures there that you can see. That's at our Lawton substation. This project we're really proud of at NIPCO. This has taken, I've said this ad nauseum, this is a culmination of cooperation among cooperatives. This is just west of Lawton, between Lawton and Sioux City, right on Highway 20 there, is where the Lawton substation is. We could not have done this at NIPCO without Northwest REC, our member cooperatives at NIPCO, without Basin and their policies. And then obviously the NIPCO crew got this done. They did all the investigation, they did all the studies, and we finally landed. This is a Tesla Megapack. It allows NIPCO to, Lyle talked about it earlier today about we want to use the power efficiently, we want to buy it off peak, and then we want to discharge this during on peak hours. And so what we're going to do is that it's installed And through the Basin program, NIPCO, all of its members, they compiled all of their allotments. There's 975 kilowatts that we can displace during peak times. So Lyle talked about in the winter, the solar was not working at 7:30 in the morning, and that's when we're peaking out in the winter. Well, what happens with this battery, and we're 4 months under our belt, we're batting 1,000 so far. This went into operation in December of 2021. And so every single month, what we do is through our load management program, you guys know about Switch Makes Sense. When we know we're gonna peak the next day, we will charge it up at night because it just doesn't sit there charged. If it sits there and it's just charged, it's gonna lose energy and it loses a little bit of its charge. So we try to time it to bring it fully charged, and then we know that we're gonna run in the winter. You guys know we do Switch Makes Sense from usually 6 o'clock in the morning until noon. It has been engineered and constructed so that it will displace 1 megawatt of power for a 6-hour increment. And so we turn that bad boy on at 6 o'clock in the morning. It inputs that energy into the Lawton substation. And so what does that mean? That means that we're avoiding buying a megawatt of power from Basin Electric. And so that is, charge it at night. We don't get, like Lyle talked about with their EV charging system. There's no demand charge from Basin, so we're buying it at less cost. When we're discharging it onto the NIPCO grid, we're avoiding buying power from Basin at peak times, and so we are avoiding buying that demand charge from Basin, which is $20 a kW up at Basin. So it's about a $20,000 benefit monthly to the NIPCO membership. We share that amongst all 7 members of NIPCO, and that comes through the monthly power bill. It's been so far, knock on wood, it's been a great project. And again, without Basin, without their battery pilot project, this is number 1 in the Basin footprint. You know, Basin has a large service territory. NIPCO is number 1 to use this program. In fact, I think we're the first ones to put grid scale battery in the entire state of Iowa. And like Lyle said, with gaining knowledge about EVs, same thing with batteries. By getting in, it's not a lot, it's just a very minimal fraction of 1% of our total load. We're learning how these work. And battery technology is going to continue to evolve. Think about computers. I think the original IBM computer probably was as big as a garage back in the 50s, right? Well, now, probably how many of you got an Apple iWatch on and how powerful those are? Look at the size differential. Well, I always tell my kids, I got a couple kids in college, I said, if you can come up with a new battery technology, you're gonna be able to print money. There's gonna be new battery technology coming. Learning how this works, learning how we can use it to our members' benefit, that education is very valuable. We're sharing that with the members on a monthly basis with the board. And so far, so good. It's been a great project, and just like EVs, we're learning as we go.
Thank you, man. It'll be fun to watch that project. Jeff, we're going to switch gears here a little bit and talk about I think one of our best programs that we offer. It's our Operation Roundup program, where members can round up their dollar amounts. So if they sign up for it and their bill is $99.50, they'll get billed $100. That 50 cents goes into the pot, so it averages about $6 for the whole year. And this has been a really successful program since 1999. Could you share just a little bit about that? And the question came in is, how do you decide how that money gets distributed?
Well, we have a subcommittee on the board that looks at this every meeting. We're on kind of an annual basis. Different nonprofit organizations come up certain months that we've annually donated money to. And also all the boards are trying to keep an eye of their communities, and what's in the paper, what medical procedures, what families having a rough go. Any need that's out there gets brought before the board, and we try to do something. So as a membership, you could call the REC, any of the REC offices. If you know someone in your community that's having a rough spell with a medical issue, and we'll do what we can. That's all I had.
All right, thank you. Matt, we've talked about reliability a little bit. We recently had I think Ida County went black here a few weeks ago, and that was a pretty nice evening. But more often, it's when it's icy or situations like that the lights will flicker and things. We had a number of questions that related to, well, you know, you've put my line underground, so it's all underground near me. Why do I still see that flicker? Can you talk a little bit about that, Matt? It's not like we're throwing NIPCO under the bus, but...
And thanks for reminding me about Ida being black. That was good. That was a good night. And for the record, a piece of equipment decided to leave the earth that day, so, joking.
6 months away from being upgraded, right?
Yeah, right, exactly. Hey, so here's a diagram that the statewide association has put together, and I think it's just a real good visual. So, yeah, we have a lot of distribution members that have put in a lot underground, and so that's basically the equivalent of the silo and the barn there and the houses. That would be the distribution system. So where NIPCO and Basin take over is from that substation outside the houses there, as it goes to the large commercial, and there's the 69 kV line, then it goes to the big substations and the 345 line, and ultimately up to Basin. It's just cost prohibitive for NIPCO and for Basin to throw the 69 kV underground or the 345 kV underground. It is just unbelievably expensive, and there are a lot of safety issues that go with that. So unfortunately, we are exposed to the weather. Now, I tried to find a video of NIPCO's lines galloping, because if your lines are blinking, it's usually NIPCO's fault. But what happens is that means that we got a varmint in a substation, we got trees that maybe are in the line, or the conductors are galloping and jumping around, especially in the winter when we get into weather conditions and they're contacting each other. And I really did try to find a video of NIPCO's. I couldn't find one, but I think I have a video of Basin's lines jumping around. So, but you know, if you haven't seen galloping lines, if you would go ahead and start that, it's kind of, you know, I think I see Lee over there. We never have this happen at NIPCO, right, Lee? This is always, you know. But if you haven't seen galloping lines, this is what happens. You know, we get the right temperature, where it's just right at freezing it's a gnarly number. When we get to like 30, 32 and we have precip in the air, we know it's going to collect on the lines. It doesn't collect on the line symmetrically, kind of turns it into an airplane wing. And then as you can see there, I know it's kind of faint there, but you can see off they go, and it's all about the direction of the wind and the way they hit those. When those phases come together, then that's what's going to cause those blinks. So when you see blinks, I hate to say it, but that's actually a good thing. That means that our protective relaying is working, because in case somebody were to get into it. The blink means that our smart grid, our Schweitzer equipment, recognizes that there's a fault somewhere. It's automatically shutting down and then turning back on to make sure that, and if it comes right back up, then we know it's just an instantaneous blink. So I know it's a nuisance, but that also means though that the equipment's working right and it's protecting the large investment that we have in our transmission grid. So until we can get 69 underground and 345 and 230 underground, which it's just, we're always going to be kind of subject to the weather. So the real scary one is a bright blue sunny day and you get a blink. Those are the scary ones. That usually means a sprayer, and about 3 months from now, that's that season. So, but I apologize for Ida being black too. We should have got to that sooner.
Related to that, I did want to mention our after-hours number. When all those calls were coming in, so you had all of Idaho, some of Plymouth, it's a lot of calls, and normally we can handle that. Normally what happens is if you call our 800 number, it doesn't go through our internal phone system. It automatically gets switched through the AT&T network and goes up to Bismarck, North Dakota, that answers our calls, and they can handle that. But if you call the local 364 number or 546 number or 737 number, it does go through our internal network. And so we're going to make a real push to remind our members, please call the 800-766-2099 number if you're out of power. Then it won't go through our phone system. So that was part of the deal. There was some other things going on that night that just caused some problems. But the other thing you can do is you can sign up for Smart Hub. And that's an app that you can look at your bill. You can sign up for automatic payments. And you can actually report an outage on that, and then you can get a text if there is an outage when your power is restored. Might be helpful if you have a generator running and you just want to know if the power's been restored or that type of thing. So think about signing up for Smart Hub if you haven't done that. Jeff, we had a question about equity. Why is net worth or equity important to the cooperative, and how does Northwest REC do relative to financial equity?
To meet our financial needs, CFC, our financial, they want us to be over a 40% equity. Equity is your amount of your net worth divided by the assets you have. If you get below 40, you're actually borrowing more money than you probably should. And you get over 50, you're probably using too much of your existing money, You try to be fair with your existing shareholders in the future. If you're putting up construction, some of it should be borrowed because it's going to be lasting 30 years and not all on the current person's bill. So we try to maintain above a 40. Right now, we're real close to 50, and we think we're in a really good spot.
Thank you. We had a lot of other questions. We've been going for about 40 minutes now on this. I think we're going to call it good there. But we do thank you for taking the time to send in your questions. There was a lot of great ones. We had a lot of people that put no question, but just made some nice comments. Just a few examples. Member wrote, thanks for the great job of keeping the lights on through winter weather storms. Another one, no questions, just want to say thank you for the decades of great service, very much appreciated. Another one, just want to say that your linemen do a great job, especially when there are power outages. And finally here, thank you for the great service. I had only one time to report an outage and it was answered quickly and solved. REC is very reliable and affordable. Thank you. So we do appreciate all those nice comments. I want to thank our panelists. Please show them your appreciation, and then I'll turn it back to Jeff.
At this time, I'd like to have Jim Holst come back forward to give the final order of business, the Inspector of Election report.
The next item of business is the ratification of the director elections that took place in districts 1, 2, 3, and 4. This year, the Inspectors of Election Committee has certified the election process, and the following members have been duly elected as directors for a 4-year term. In District 1, Jeff Rader. District 2, Tom Wagner. District 3, Steve Brown. And District 4, Dan Hoffman. Mr. Chairman, I move that the ratification of the 2022 director election results be passed.
Thank you. Is there support for that motion? Support. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you, Jim. You're welcome. Is there any other business to bring forth before the board this time? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Motions or support? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you. If you have any other questions, a few of us will be around to answer them as best we can. Thank you for your attendance, and there will be a random drawing for door prizes tomorrow morning for those members who attended this evening or participated on the Facebook Live section. As a reminder, to get registered, if you joined us virtually on Facebook Live, please text the number if you haven't already done so. 833-692-0554, and then text NWREC 2022. You'll receive a text back asking for your first and last name. Please respond with your name and you'll be entered into the drawing. We'll be drawing tomorrow morning for 10 $250 bill credits and 20 $100 bill credits. We will post the prize winners tomorrow on our Facebook page and also send out an email. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us this evening for our annual meeting of Northwest REC. This meeting stands adjourned. Stay healthy and safe. Thanks for coming.